What is up, guys? Day 3 of the EP challenge, and in this video or today we're going to be making a template. Now this template is going to be very basic and generic, and it's going to be used for all 4 of our tracks, unless in your case if you have, for example, 4 extremely different genres, then you may want to make a very basic template so you don't have to keep changing things. So why are we making a template? What's the purpose? With 30 days to create an EP, you really have to focus on workflow and productivity. Now, we could start every single track from a basic, the starting point of our DAW. For example, Ableton, 2 MIDI channels into audio tracks. With FL, it's quite similar, but having a template allows us to bypass that initial preparation stage, setting things up like side chains and mixer routing and things like that. So we're going to set up a template first, and it will just make everything else a lot more easier and quicker. So I encourage you to set up your template how you want, but if you're not sure what to do, if you're new to production and you don't really know what you need, then feel free to follow along with what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is just lay out the basic tracks, basically what I need for a template. The first thing is I'm going to lay out structure locators, markers, and you can do this in FL Studio, Ableton, pretty much any DAW. In Ableton, you basically right click up above the channel here and click add locator. So I'm going to put a few of these in. First one can be intro, second we'll call it build, and I'm not going to lay these out. I think we'll do that on a track by track basis. Build, verse, well let's call it section actually. Section 1, section 2, breakdown, we'll have another build, chorus, drop, outro. So that's very basic, and we'll probably add different kind of markers on different tracks, but just having that kind of thing there so you can organize the arrangement quickly really helps. So if you saw the post the other day, you'll know that I'm producing 4 different genres, but they are kind of the same in that they have similar structure. So new disco, deep house, progressive house, and trance. They're all four on the floor kind of tracks, so they have similar elements. And the first one is drums, so we're going to set up them first. So just blank channels. I'm going to call this kick, and I like to have my drums on individual channels. One can be snare, claps, hi-hat, hats, and finally percussion. So just 4 channels, nice and simple. I'm going to group these and name that drums. I might color this blue. Now on each of the individual channels, I know straight from the get-go that for the kick I'm probably only going to use 1 sample. I may layer 2 kicks, but if I'm going to do that, I'll switch this out. So I'm going to have a sample there on the kick. I'm also going to have an EQ, because I know I'll be using an EQ, and I'm also going to duplicate this, pull it outside of the drum section, and rename it to sidechain. I'm going to have a muted sidechain channel, and that's a nice thing to set up in your template at the start. And we can also stick a sample in here if we want. In fact, I might do that now. Just get a snappy kick. Let's see. I'm going to drag that sample in, bring down the sustain and the decay release. So it's just a very short snappy sample. make sure that's hitting at the top. Cool. So that's the sidechain, and we'll leave that how it is, and also mute it, we don't want it going anywhere. What else do I want on the kick? Nothing, that's pretty good. Snares and claps, I'm going to use a drum rack here, probably, just in case I want to layer them. And again, an EQ, and probably a compressor in case I want to do any sidechaining. And what you can do is set this up with the sidechain signal going in, so that you don't have to, you don't have to do that when you're creating your song. I'm going to copy this and take it over to the hats, just in case you want to sidechain hats. Also stick an EQ on there. You'll see by default that my EQ has the low end pulled up, and I should probably take that off the kick, and also the high end. The reason I do this, I actually got it from Morgan Page in the studio. He sets his up default like that so he can use the low pass and high pass as needed, instead of dragging Ableton's auto filter on and having to do it again. So snares and claps, hats, I'm going to use drum rack again, because normally you use more than one hat. And same with percussion. In fact, I'll probably use the same signal. Sorry, processing rack. So that's pretty good, I think. Pretty basic, and I'm also going to stick a glue compressor on the bus, the drum's bus, but we won't do anything to it. So it's not acting at the moment, and that's about it actually. We could also stick a low pass and high pass on there. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much it, and I'm just going to repeat this for bass and synths. I'm not going to go beyond that because every track's going to be different, and we don't want to make it too complex. So we'll have 2 synth channels to start off with, and synths. What I mean by synths is pretty much any sort of melodic content. So if you have a piano, then I would put that under synth, even though it's not really a synth. But when I mean synths, that's what I'm talking about. Colored in green. Group is synths. I'm not going to drag any plugins in there, but that's basically it. And again, I'll probably have an EQ and compressor on each. We can duplicate these, pull them out, and rename them to bass 1 and 2. And and say I'm making a track and I only need 1 bass, then it's a lot easier to just delete a channel instead of create a new one. Bass. Cool. That's pretty good for now. So that's a basic channel setup, very simple template. And we can do a bit more here. We can start moving into routing, but I don't really want to do that because it's sort of going into the mixing section of the EP challenge, which we do at the end of each track. So I'm just going to leave the template as it is for now. I don't think there needs to be much else done. But if you're creating your template and you feel like you should add something else, then just go ahead and do it. There's no harm in making it complex. But I encourage you to make a template, even if it's just a few tracks here and there. It'll help immensely when it comes to the composition stage and the arrangement stage. So yeah, see you tomorrow.